10 laps in the morning.
Yes, restricted running for Jonathan until we determine who the world title.
I feel like he's got his way around the track, he's got his bearings on the longer run. That could play into Toprak's hands even more, and for everyone around Toprak, they've said the same.
And as I said, when we looked at the results from FP1
right from the outset, because we saw this man, Alex Lowe, said that this is a track that's going to suit, won by half a second of all of his fastest times. He looked like he was
a significant margin for him to potentially be able to finished earlier on today, fourth fastest.
Where he's really sitting. I think it's easy to look. Expect to see a lot of these superbike riders do something similar.
Bautista 6th position in free practice. Friday, these 2 sessions, and of course free practice 3
weekend as well. But obviously his last race in 100 podium, he's been sat on number 99 pretty much.
Absolutely not. Axel Bassani there, who has been a regular top 10 runner, frankly.
And that's quite unusual for
the clock now begins to tick down. 45 minutes to be running in this heat, frankly, the way things are.
Certainly you'd expect that once the guys get out on track,
you say a couple of degrees have been knocked off the air
in many conditions. And they all say the same thing. It's recover fully after a session out on track in these kind of
the field that are just completing their installation laps at present.
Pressure into those tyres and get them up to speed. That's where it'd be really important for him to
pull in terms of podium finishes top for the feature-length races themselves.
The adaptable bike to a lot of different conditions. 500 revs that they were using in the test session.
As we watched Isaac Vinales there making his way through in free practice 2, as Vinales just Vinales, Mercado, Nozane, all improving 3/4 of a second up at the halfway mark.
Taddy Mercado on track alongside me. You can see Mercado now.
He's one of the few, well, he's the only rider in the top 10 that have completed sector, so that would have put him in line to challenge him.
He had moved himself up into the 1 minute 35. For Toprak, we haven't really seen too much at this stage.
To Jonathan Ray, perhaps, to be the first rider to the 2 Hondas just making their way out of the final 1 minute 34s, like Razgatlioglu was. Razgatlioglu's time from this morning has been
a lot more calm into turn 1, like you expect.
Alex, down here in the Kawasaki racing team, lots of gear sometimes happen, and we need to accept, try to not repeat. Alex made good
down, and just on the exit there of
get himself back out there again. As Gimmerby
curb for Jonathan Ray, a couple of rounds ago, was to get Alex Lowe's up there.
Tandem and both of them qualifying the front wheel gradient. He's very much focused on his job at hand.
Frankly, that Jonathan Ray, I think to get himself in that position directly behind Toprak. A little bit of gamesmanship early in the weekend.
Relationship has evolved, obviously, from a few years ago. You know, I'll show him a few lessons, but I think pretty
with Razgatlioglu over the course of this week, the inside of Razgatlioglu.
Yeah, 7 laps. So for Ray, you would imagine he'll probably do information you'd imagine from free practice 1.
Yes, it did rare time in FP2. The other running in this session this afternoon, free practice 3,000ths of a second behind Jonathan Ray and Leon Haslam rounding out your top 10. Then the target time he set this morning
just outside the 35s, and it's gotten something that's going to be a storyline all the way through the weekend, because
they're on about how friendly the relationship has always
been, and certainly what we've seen from this will be good for next year as well, as we're going to see hopefully the resilient season, so hopefully we're going to see him back.
A little bit off his time to manage to close in and
we'll make a big step forward now in this session, and again, so this could well be the last lap for Jonathan.
Enough, you know, in the Super Bowl sessions, he's well and truly been
a frustrating season. He's made a big step forward with this year. If you think back to obviously the pre-season testing for Lowe's, I think it's going to be quite interesting to see what
number 2 riders, as it were, of one, certainly from sort of rounds 4.
Such big steps forward since he came to the World SBK paddock all the way through this season. But I think it's going to be harder and harder.
Ducati planning to get straight at it, and we're not far away.
That they're looking to get themselves out on track.
I want to talk about next year in due course, but
green, it's not had really any track action until now. Fed in, as we already know. But yeah, so far you normally have a reference of how tires understand the track is different.
Changing of the guard, as it were, at Team World SBK from 2022.
We saw Jonathan Ray there in the pit box just talking to the team for right now.
Plenty of laps though put in by Jonathan.
The opening session.
Plenty of riders in the pits in towards the spectacular turn 10.
On the entry down in towards that corner, but
we always talk about the wall in Aragon.
Is around this track, down in towards turn 10, you can see
yeah, it's cool, certainly not in terms of temperatures, but up for P2 in this session. That's a good effort from Ronaldo.
Understand how the tyres are going to react and then try and cover that comes in. We've also got a little bit more weather, particularly at the end of a free practice 2 session.
Please, I can't keep up, so I can't learn anything.
Yeah, we'll see first impressions being here for me.
But yeah,
Just past difficult tracks like that at the start.
Refining their package, the Yamaha's very good.
It's interesting to hear there that
Laps, he was down to lap record pace, and top rider, someone like Scott Redding, I was chatting to him yesterday, and I was sets apart the top riders, and you know, it's the same.
Working quite nicely for both of those. Yeah, Alex Lowe's also out there completing and
round about 165 kilometers.
You're going to have to take the fight to him right at the start of the race.
It was qualifying. He was struggling on a I could ride in the wet, and he's been really good in the wet.
Plural, they're going to go away from him because he caught Chaz Davies in fairly fast. It's not going to be necessarily easy to be the most obvious passing place, I think.
Yeah, we was a rider down in towards turn 10. But obviously the struggle through this area, there was a little bit of issues for absolutely block off all paths and try
a new personal best for him, a 1:34 this session.
Yeah, what's interesting for Ray is pretty much losing
set now to prove, and
someone was willing to push a little bit harder than some of the other riders.
The low grip conditions when it was slippery earlier on today to extent.
Yeah, I was asking Toprak about how he should basically just rag everything and advantage over some other riders.
I think,
of course, was also out in action in Turkish 3
at the moment.
Yeah, I think that there's no real question about it. Yamaha package as a whole can work really well. Toprak.
Thanks, Alex. Down in your room, you read from the riders.
Yeah, about the data, we try different, the big kill.
7.5.
It is a little bit closer in that final sector. Prizes in free practice. It's all about what you're going to do in the
everywhere, though, isn't he? Looking good in this session.
In the first and the fourth sections, Kawasaki have made a
done for his best in this session. Leon Haslam's just,
of course, this year. There is a good bike in that into those leading positions. We've obviously seen
a little bit closer to the front over the last Hasil Bassani was going to get on terms with him later on,
because he was consistently at the front, able to the sign of what we're going to see
next season is concerned. Alex Lowe's currently rounds out the top 5. We come in
riding all the way down in 11th, but only 8/10 of a second.
Skatlioglu can set a time that may well be the end of his session.
It's going to get a little bit closer now as well. Scott Redding's
go P7. Meanwhile, out on
the loses a bit of ground in sector 3. He's 2/10 of a second.
Away now from the checkered flag falling, so we're into all that cracker late on in FP1. Scott Redding, a few tenths of a second down, but only into P15. So
actually fastest of all in sector 3 as well now. So he's
doing the final turn and crosses the lap, stunning laps faster than his nearest what looks set to be his personal best lap, and I'd say that's Chaz Davies using that to good effect to get through.
Good against that sector. Koenig's actually made some good progress.
Not too far off what other riders have been doing on
the spec bike. He has ridden a superbike in the endurance.
To try and mix it with these big guns is 3 seconds slower than Toprak Razgatlioglu, outsider as it were in that sense.